We're now joined by Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State, and he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We might as well yesterday or the last 2 days just done our show together. We were so close, Robert.
Yeah, we were bumping into each other a little bit there, but no, you guys were good neighbors. So we got our work done. Looked like you guys got your work done, and that's the way you need it to be.
That's what we're there for, getting the interviews we were able to get in the inside as well. So you said something to me, and I mentioned it on yesterday's show, but I wanted to bring you on today to discuss it as well. The calmness of where Mike Gundy is. Craig had mentioned also that he's older. He's also more locked in than ever. But you mentioned that spine of the president to the AD to the football coach at Oklahoma State is another reason why he feels probably as comfortable as he does.
I think it's the primary reason because, I mean, you guys know Mike a little bit. He was at Baylor, for a while as an assistant coach. And I still look back, they have that NFL films maybe it was an ESPN 30 for 30 on the Cleveland project with that Bill Belichick staff, and Nick Saban was on it, and all the coaches that were in that group and what they all went on to do. I look at that group that was there at Baylor right after Grant Taft retired and handed the keys over to his top assistant, and I know Baylor was a little impatient with that group. But golly, if they had kept that staff together, I mean, it was loaded, and Mike was part of that. And I think he learned a lot when he was there for that brief stint at Baylor. But, I talked to Mike a lot. I covered him. I was at the NBC affiliate in Oklahoma City. I covered him when he was a high school quarterback at Midwest City. I covered him throughout his career as a college quarterback at Oklahoma State. Know his family. So I've been around him a lot. And I just know there were times we even talked about at the arch rival school at Oklahoma, David Boren, and we know since then that Boren made some financial decisions that have put Oklahoma in some, tough economic situations currently. But as far as it, pertained to athletics, Boren was an excellent president. He supported athletics. He took a lot of pride in what the athletic teams, particularly football, did. He hired a sensational athletic director in Joe Castiglione that I go back to the Missouri days when Joe was there, and he's outstanding. And then when they hired Bob Stoops, there it was. That was the lineage. That was that line you talk about, or that spine you talk about, David, that Oklahoma had, and look how powerful it was. And we talked about it. God, if you ever got that thing going, the synergy that comes from having three people that are all trying to help the other get their job done and be as successful as possible. And now Mike's got that. He's got that with Casey Schrum, with Chad Weiberg as the athletic director, Schrum as the president. And if you see Mike walking like he's 6 inches off the ground, I guarantee you a lot of it has to do with that energy or synergy that comes from those three being at the top of the leadership ladder.
Robert, what were your thoughts, I guess, on Oklahoma State? Let's start with them, since that's your bread and butter. I don't have a good grasp for them. I mean, I know Spencer Sanders is back, and there's a lot of talent coming back, but there's also talk about what a lot of other teams have done this offseason. Where do you kind of have them in your mind as far as coming off of that great season last year, obviously having to have some changes on the coaching staff with Derek Mason now taking over the defense and so on? What'd you learn, if anything, or have confirmed from the Pokes over Big 12 Media Days?
You know what? Not so much at Big 12 Media Days. We just kind of have fun with the guys while they're there. Brock Martin with the cowboy hat. And I don't think anybody enjoyed the fact that Old Trapper has become the title sponsor of the Big 12 Media Days as much as Brock Martin did. I'm not sure I saw him without a bag of beef jerky the entire time, but I was on with you guys, I think, after spring. We talked about Derek Mason, and boy, I think Mason's going to be sensational. I don't sense there's going to be any kind of loss there, and that's nothing against Jim Knowles. He's sensational, but Derek Mason is using the Knowles playbook. The players haven't had to learn anything new except for some of Mason's tweaks. So that's been very smooth. I gained my greatest measure of where this team may be last Friday. I do it once a summer, and I have the advantage of being able to do it because of the sideline gig on radio. I went up Stillwater at 5:30, actually 6 a.m. in the morning, and watched their stadium step run, which goes for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then I go in the weight room and watch the entire Friday strength workout. And then Rob Glass, the strength coach, just recently became, I guess, the highest paid strength coach in college football. He's at $1 million. I don't think there's any other strength coaches making that. And Rob was generous, gave me 40 minutes. And we went up and down the roster. I was able to watch and glean a lot from watching the workouts. And I do it every summer, so I can measure it with past teams. I was expecting this not to be as impressive as the workout I saw last summer. It was more impressive. And I asked Rob what he thought, and he said, yeah, I was worried there'd be a letdown in leadership. I was wondering after a really good season if there would be a little bit of a, letting go of the rope a little bit, not being as intense. And it's not that way at all. In fact, and I think this is what they did at Big 12 Media Days, talking about the players. They talked about the chip they've got on their shoulder. I mean, that corner of the end zone at AT&T Stadium was mentioned a lot for your guys, a lot for OSU's guys. And I thought both teams had the right response. Baylor said, look, that was 7-8 months ago. It's over. We're moving on. We're looking ahead. Oklahoma State had the right response for them. We're not forgetting. We have unfinished business in this place. We want to come back and finish the job. So, tremendously impressed with the workout I saw. I was really concerned about the offensive line, but those guys really look good. And I'll give you a name. Tyrone Weber at New Mexico Military Institute was a junior college All-American, led them to a national championship in JCAA last year in Little Rock, Arkansas. When he got here at midterm, he looked like, a shabby tight end. He was undersized. He didn't look like he was supposed to. And a lot of people shaking their heads. I mean, this guy's supposed to step in and help because the offensive line needed some. And in spring, you found out he's a fighter. In the scrimmages, he may not have looked good, but he played good. And now you look at him in the weight room, and Rob Glass has got him up over 300. Turns out he's Muslim, and some of the fasting things that they do within that religion, they've been able to negotiate those so that he doesn't lose weight. Now you can't do that at a military school because heck, you're not getting good meals at a military school anyway, or at least not time enough to eat them. But they've got him on the right track. His strength numbers are really good. I think he's your starting left guard this upcoming season. So that's just an example. And there are a lot of others. And the defensive line is the part of the team that it's just there's 6 or 7 defensive ends. Tyler Lacey, who was there at Big 12 Media Days, he's at 295. I think you're going to see him a lot more at the 3 technique at tackle. So that's where I'm getting a little better feel for what Oklahoma State might be, was what I saw in those stadium steps and in that weight room a week ago.
They have been good consistently for a long, long time. They've had big moments, and they've had, again, the one where you had your heart ripped out. Do sometimes people forget how consistent that program has really been?
Well, I forget who said it. One of the national guys I was talking to said, I think it was the day Oklahoma State was there on Wednesday at Arlington. Mike Gundy's got to be the most underpublicized, successful potential Hall of Fame head coach in the history of college football. And I said, well, I don't know about that, but yeah, I don't think Mike gets his due. Maybe it's because, some of the things he said in the past, and I think there's some people because of some of it, because of the mullet, because of the rant way back in 2007 after that win over Texas Tech. I'm a man, I'm 40.
Yeah.
I think sometimes he's viewed as more comical than serious, which is disappointing because he's a serious football coach. And I think the quote he wants to be remembered for now is "We got a logo too," because that was designed for Oklahoma State, for the Big 12, and to try and push this thing forward. And I know he spent some time with Brett Yormark, and I know they've been on the phone, and Mike's got interest in making sure this league gets what it deserves. And I'll just tell you, because I just wrote the story on Folks Report, and I know we're sisters on the F5 platform.
Yeah.
But Bill Hancock gave me the best quote, and the one I'm most excited about during the media days. I asked him point blank, "You're one of the most powerful men in the sport. Yeah, you're the executive director of the college football playoff. We're looking at a situation here where it looks like the SEC, the Big Ten want to rule the world. Is there going to be a place for the Big 12 and for its schools in the future of playing for championships in the sport? Because that's your bailiwick." He said, "Robert, as long as I'm in charge, I will not let that happen." And this is the man that built up the NCAA in part by making sure Cinderella had a role in the NCAA basketball tournament. He was the executive director when it was expanded, and a lot of those teams made history, the Valpos of the world. And so he looked at me eye to eye, and I believe him. So, for all those doom and gloomers that believe the SEC and the Big Ten may rub us out, I don't think the Bill Hancocks of the world are going to let that happen. And we need to hold them to that, because this league is a damn good league. And I don't want to see it diminished. I don't give a damn what they've got in the SEC or the Big Ten. I respect the heck out of them. But I know what I see on Saturday, week after week in this league, and Baylor's included in that. So is Kansas State. So is Iowa State. A lot of the remaining teams in this league, and I don't want to see it rubbed out.
One of the things about that league, and you hear other conferences talk about whether they should play 8 games or 9 games. And I saw something with Saban last week. He mentioned the Big 12 plays 9 games. Hell, they play everybody. Now, that's going to change when they add the new teams. I get that. But I still think that's one of the most underrated parts of what has happened when they went to 10 is that you don't have where a part of a schedule can be a little bit of a break for you because of how it falls.
No, and that's what Houston and I don't know about BYU, because if you look at their schedule, they string together some pretty damn good opponents.
Mm-hmm.
But the Central Florida, Cincinnati, and Houston, those teams, and I'm not downplaying them. I think they're good programs, and they're going to be competitive. But they're going to have an adjustment period, because when you go into this league week after week, heck, guys, I look at what's the first big showdown in conference play in the Big 12? What order they come out in
right
at the end of the year. So you look at that big showdown, and Oklahoma State has an open week the week before, which Mike Gundy's pretty good after open week. They have an easy non-conference schedule. I hate the fact that's the case, but Arizona State's been diminished. So Central Michigan, Arizona State, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, all at home that's not a great non-con. Baylor's got to go to BYU week 2, and then they've got to go to Iowa State the week before they play Oklahoma State. You guys all know when you go play Iowa State, you pack your lunchbox, and it's an all-day affair. It's a physical ball game regardless, and so that is what I look at and say, "Oh, okay, I'd rather have the Oklahoma State lead up to that than Baylor." But Baylor's at home, and we know Oklahoma State hasn't fared well there at McLean Stadium. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's an example of the week after week kind of challenges that Central Florida, Houston, and Cincinnati are going to have to get used to, because it isn't that way in the American.
Robert, Brett Yormark obviously not officially on the job just yet, and there were a lot of things that he couldn't quite dive deep into because he's not officially on the job just yet, and he's still learning a lot of things. But he did say some things that were, okay, of note and raise your eyebrows a little bit, especially when it came to being open for business and the realignment piece and all of that. What were your thoughts after hearing Brett Yormark introduced and what he had to say?
Yeah, the press conference, he was pretty played it close to the vest, but I don't know. I know you guys got him just like we did on a radio interview, and he was a lot better in the one-on-one radio type setting and was very relaxed. And I get the feeling that he talked about his management style at the Nets and at the Barclays Center. He's a guy that's as comfortable speaking to, the kings of business and politics and entertainment and sports as he is the custodial staff at the arena. So I love that about him. I think he can bring his game up and down and be an effective communicator with a wide variety of people. But the thing that impressed me most is I think the guy is very powerful. I think he speaks powerfully. I think he has powerful thoughts. And while he didn't get to announce anything of great importance or measure, and I know he wanted to, he had even told, I think, the board of directors that he was going to be working hard to try and bring some news to Arlington that would wow people. So he understands that, but he also didn't manufacture anything. And sometimes when you do that, that's worse. But I think he's going to be very effective. And I've heard the rumors. I heard you guys before I came on talking about that dang the reporting on realignment is every time we go through this, it gets worse. The stupid reporting. And I think some of that's just the modern, journalism is really hit some all-time lows in the last several years. Sports journalism, political, it doesn't matter, whatever. But I think this guy's working hard, and I think we're going to hear something pretty soon. Now, I think we're going to stall. I don't think anything's really going to happen. But I think where you might hear some big news from him, I think he's going to go out and get the Big 12 some sponsorships. I think you better get ready to see some patches on jerseys. But they're going to be patches that symbolize money coming into the coffers for the Big 12 and for its schools. So, yeah, I think this guy's going to go out and start doing his job, and I think he's going to do it quick.
Robert, last question for you. There's all those teams coming through, and everybody obviously coming off of an off season is thinking they're going to be better, for the most part than they were last year. And I think the Big 12 is really interesting this year with a lot of changes made across the board. But who are you after these last couple of days maybe buying more stock into they're going to be better, and who are you calling BS? This is just foo-foo preseason positivity, and they're not going to be as good as expected?
I'm buying into the two schools in Kansas.
Okay.
Obviously different levels. I think that Chris Kleiman's got a real deal football team, and I think we all better start paying attention where and when the schools we cover play K-State. I think K-State's going to be a factor. Not just because they got 6 guys voted on the media all-conference team, but now it all depends on one guy, though. Adrian Martinez.
Yep.
Tremendous athlete, but is he going to be able to – but he's going to get a better supporting cast than what he had at Nebraska. Is he going to be able to take advantage of it? And is he going to cut his mistakes down? And by the way, we get that all the time with Spencer Sanders. What about Spencer Sanders? He's so inconsistent. Let me tell you what. You're real inconsistent when you have a backup center playing Ika against Baylor and you don't have your number one running back. Man, I've gone back and looked at the tape. Man, Baylor defensively took advantage of and they should, of all the opportunities in that game. And that's why they won the game. But K-State, to finish that thought, and then I think Lance Leipold, I don't know how many games it's going to equate to. I think they may win 3, maybe even 4. And if they do that, he's a candidate for Coach of the Year because, that thing was coming from the bottom. But I think he's got things going there. Still believe in Baylor, like I did going in. Still believe in Oklahoma State. Still believe in Oklahoma. I think Brent Venables is going to be a really good coach. If you're asking me who I'm saying, what did you say I was going to say? Who or nah? You're full of crap.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian in Texas. I watch their players walk around the place. I've seen Texas players walk around the place like that for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And until somebody slaps them across, and they've been slapped. That's the amazing thing. You would think after 5 and 7, they would look in the mirror and say, we're not very good. We've got to change our ways. But I don't think they have. And maybe the Lamborghini sponsorships, and I do think Bijan Robinson's actually the real deal, but maybe some of the stuff that's offered to those kids in Austin just keeps them from being hungry. But I see Baylor players, even after winning the conference championship, Dylan Doyle struck me as hungry. Okay? I know Spencer Sanders, Brock Martin, Lacey, those kids are hungry. K-State kids struck me as wanting to prove something, but Texas acts like, the red carpet or the burnt orange carpet's rolled out for them, and they don't have a care in the world. And Steve Sarkisian's got to find a way to stop it.
Robert, it's always great to hear from you, man. It was great to see you the last couple of days and look forward to seeing you on a sideline here pretty soon.
All right, we'll see you guys, if not sooner, in Waco.
Yes, sir. Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State with his insight, his opinions, and we appreciate that as well, and his thoughts about the Big 12. The phone call that's been trying